And this is diving more into the life element again. And this is kind of trying to see how we can accelerate the things that are important to us. We spent, for those of you who are in the first couple of workshops or did a taster workshop, we spent time talking about setting goals, but then the systems around how we achieve those goals. And ultimately, I think our habits are a massive part of that, because essentially we become our habits. And so one of the most fascinating examples of habit tracking and formulation was by Benjamin Franklin. So Benjamin Franklin started taking a very critical look at his habits. And what he did was he actually worked out that there was 13 key habits that he needed to track. And each week, at the end of the day, while he was sitting in bed, journaling a little bit, he would assess how he'd done relating to one habit. And he would, so essentially these were his 13 habits. And so the first week he'd be sitting there going, right, okay, how have I done with regards to temperance? I don't know how you answer that question, but anyway. But he would every day, right, how have I done with that? And he'd work on that particular habit over that week. Then the following week, he'd be on to the next habit. Again, before he goes to bed each day, he'd be like, right, how have I done with silence? I'm not very good at that one. But again, what that means is he created this 13-week cycle of going through the habits that he felt were incredibly powerful to move him forward. And he didn't do too badly. In financial planning seminars, I often told the story of what I called the compound golf story. So this was where my best man, who until recently lived out in Singapore, came over, and we were like, right, we go play some golf. Obviously, being each other's best men, there's lots of competitiveness going on, and he was like, right, okay, let's play. He works for Morgan Stanley, he's an investment banker, so frivolous with money. And so he said, right, come on, let's play for money. Like, Chris, no, we really don't need to play. I can mess up my golf easily enough without putting money on the line as well. But no, come on, we just got to play for some money and make it interesting. I said, right, fine, Chris, we'll pay for 10p a hole. 10p, for goodness sake, you run successful financial planning business and you want to play for 10p a hole. We'll play for 10p a hole to start with, but we'll double it each hole. I'm like, okay, fine. How bad can that be? First hole, 10p. I think he won that hole, so I'm 10p down. But like he says, I run a successful financial planning business. I think I can cope with that. Second hole, we're playing for 20p. I think I won that hole. I'm now 10p up. I'm happy, much more excited about this. As it starts going on, we get up to £1.60 a hole. Starting to think about it over the putts now. Starting to play with my mind a little bit. By the 10th hole, we were now up to £51 a hole, and I could see where this is going. Like, Chris, no, enough of this. This is now completely ridiculous. It's totally wrecked my game. But how do I let him carry on with this approach? By the 18th, we'd have been playing for £13,000 a hole. And the reason I told that story at financial planning conferences is because ultimately, what are you witnessing here? You're witnessing compound growth. A little bit of growth doesn't seem much at the start, and it grows and it grows. But it's the growth on the growth on the growth that has a massive impact. And this is exactly what we were actually talking about last night at the table, because we were talking about the fact that in compound growth, and I think it was you, Claire, asking Dee how, because Dee was saying, well, with your marketing, it can take a long time to get very little results, and then gradually that becomes steeper and steeper and steeper. And it's like, how do you talk to clients about the fact they don't expect overnight success? This is about building and building and building. And ultimately, this is exactly what we've talked about with clients' finances. It's why, saving a little bit in a pension from a young age was really important. In fact, I talked about it in Smart Money, because it's like the person that starts at the age of 20 can save the same amount as the person that starts at age 40 in a fraction of the effort, because they've got the time working on their side, that growth on the growth on the growth. You guys all understand compound growth, so I don't need to explain it. But ultimately, the same happens with our habits. What we do little and often has a massive impact on what we do in what we achieve in the long term. So one of the best examples I can give you of this is when I decided I was going to train for my first Ironman. I was reading a book at the time called the 5 a.m. Club. I probably mentioned it at a previous workshop. Brilliant book. I say brilliant book. Robin Sharma won't win any literary skills for his storytelling. It's woven around a really bad story. But the messages within that book are absolutely incredible. And I took away from it that if I was going to achieve completing an Ironman, I needed to just get up earlier and do some early morning training. That single habit change and getting to the point where I'm not allowed to set my alarm at 5 o'clock every morning. So it's 5:30 is politically sound in my household, but that habit has been transformational in so many different parts of my life. Obviously, I honestly think it was the key factor that allowed me to go from being unfit and not running to doing an Ironman. But it's also an amazing thing that's transformed my life in so many different ways. I get to see the sunrise so much more often than I ever did before. So this photo is, just in case you hadn't spotted it, this is St. Agnes. This was New Year's Day morning. There is snow on the ground. We've got the sunrise. Like, historically, there is no way I was seeing sunrise on New Year's Day unless I was still out partying. And yet at this time I'm out running, seeing an amazing sunset, seeing the snow on the cliffs. And it was just, this wasn't this year, that was 2 years ago. It's such a brilliant habit. And it's made doing multiple Ironmans, ultra marathons, all of those sorts of things became really easy because of this. Also, so one of the things that the 5 a.m. Club talks about in that first hour, which Robin Sharma calls the glory hour, he talks about it's not just about exercise, it's also about learning and mindfulness, or so essentially trying to get all of those three into that first hour of the day before anybody wakes up. It's before my kids get up, before my wife gets up, so I can just get on, do the exercise, listen to a book, do some meditation, whatever it is, and I can achieve so much more as a result. And that is because of the building effect of the habit. Same with, I mentioned this earlier on, with Training Peaks and Leon Chevalier, creating the habit of turning Training Peaks green, if it's in the business scorecard, continually creating the habit of hitting the goals, turning those green, has a massive impact over the long term. And I said it in the goal setting bit, but we often overestimate what we can achieve in the short term, but we massively underestimate what we can achieve in the long term because of the compound effect of these habits. If you want to read a great book about this, which I know Henry has read because he did a learning lunch for us once upon a time on it, I thought it was a brilliant book. James Clear's Atomic Habits is really, I think, very powerful in this sense. And James talks about really there's 4 steps to creating habits. There is the cue, there is the craving, there is the response, and the reward. And I think this is a great way of thinking about how you create a good habit and how you remove bad habits. The first 2 are the problem stage, and the second 2 of those are the solution stage. So that's what we need to think about. So with regards to the cue, this is all about, if we want to create a good habit, how do we make it really obvious? How can we make it attractive and easy and satisfying? So by the way, in creating a good habit, that's what we want to do. If we want to remove a bad habit, we need to do the opposite. So we need to make it really unobvious, really awkward, really annoying. He talks about the slip road habit. And the slip road is all about, I've heard other people describe it as the trigger. So the habit isn't necessarily going to the gym. The habit might be putting your gym kit on. It's that first 2 minutes. You might even choose to sleep in your gym kit so that you wake up and you're like, right, I'm already ready, I'm just going. And you're not looking out the window going, oh God, it's raining. Bloody hell, I'm not gonna do that. So that slip road habit is, you've got to think about what's the start of the habit, what's the trigger, what's the cue, for delivering something else. One of the other ways that you can think about that cue is what he describes as habit stacking. So when I do this, I'm now also going to do that. So, for example, when I get up, I'm going to put my Garmin watch on, and that Garmin watch now means I'm going to go and do my exercise, whatever that is. So it's a way of linking one thing that you already do to another thing that you do. And habit stacking, so that can be really powerful in terms of building new habits. Second stage is then about craving. You actually want to make it really attractive to do whatever it is you want to do. You want the image that you want to create. And one thing you want to think about when you're thinking about habit formation is also thinking about the habits of your clients. How can you make whatever it is that you want them to do to follow these same principles? What's the easy cue that you can give them? How can you make giving a referral really attractive? Well, funnily enough, that's what we were just talking about. But what's the cue? Well, is that the automated email in the sequence that you send them? Then you've got so you want to think about these principles from your client's point of view as well as yours. But certainly with regards to creating your own habits, it is about creating a craving that so you want to do this. Temptation bundling is something that gets talked about a little bit in habit formation as well, and around a thing called the Premack principle, named after David Premack. But if you want to find something that you already, if you can find something that you already want to do and connect it with a habit that you need to do, then again, it's like that habit stacking. It's right. How can we link one to the other to make these habits more easily carried out, or more attractive to carry out? Third principle was response. So how can we make it really easy? Behaviors are more likely to be formed when they're easy, and obviously when they can be accomplished with ease. So that then talks about, right, how can we make things less, how can we remove friction when the habit is good, or how can we create fiction when the habit is bad? One of the examples I always think of here in business is Amazon. Amazon removes friction in our life. When they created Amazon Prime, it was like, right, okay, I can now, I don't have to worry about paying for shipping. It's going to turn up tomorrow. It's just now I'm actually willing to pay a couple of quid extra for the removal of hassle of trying to find somebody else, because I know with Amazon it's just going to be there. It's just easy. It's one-click purchase. They've removed friction from our life. So how can we remove friction in terms of making the good habits easier for us? How can we remove friction for our clients? And if there's a habit that we want to remove, how can we add friction to that process to make it much less attractive? And then the final stage is reward. Make it so we need to make it satisfying or unsatisfying if it is a bad reward. What is immediately rewarded gets repeated, immediately punished gets avoided. And the faster that reward works or comes into play, the more likely it is that you will continue to forward. So the idea is that is a loop. So you get through that reward, you go, wow, that was good. Off I go again. Here's my cue. And that's how we can build good habits. An example of this, this was years ago at university. I was trying to give up smoking, and I decided that what I would do is, for every week that I gave up smoking on the Friday, I would head down to the record shop and buy myself a record or a CD as a reward for it. And that was the reward for going, right, okay, and now, by the way, I'm just coming into the weekend, which is probably going to be the most difficult time. I've reminded myself of the reward at the right time, so that now I'm going to go another week without smoking. So again, when it comes to creating, when it comes to creating good habits, we want to follow those principles. When it comes to removing bad habits, we want to go to the opposite of those. So good habits is all about making it really obvious, making it really attractive, making it really easy, and making it really satisfying. And bad habits is all about making